Alright guys, hope you all had a great weekend. I built a desk, I lined some planters, and I chilled in our hot tub, so I had a semi-relaxed, semi-housework weekend indoors. Now though, time to talk about some heroic loot news, which I think would apply to every difficulty actually. If you've ever wondered why you're not getting high rolls on gear and weapons, it's because the game is built that way. In fact, you're going to see that the chance of getting a natural god rolled item, i.e. an item with all attributes max, is about 1 in 900. I also want to cover some news on exotics and targeted loot, along with discuss some crossplay a bit more, as this may be coming to console in the near future. If you enjoyed this one, I'd appreciate a like down below, and with that said, let's start. So guys, this is the document I want to look at for probably the majority of this video, and we'll go over some other bits here, but this is a Reddit post. As you can see, the title says I recorded the roll values of 1,800 plus heroic loot drops to get a better idea of roll quality. Here are the results. Now I think this is important because the devs are always constantly looking to iterate on loot quality and quantity, essentially, and they've been doing that for a long time, and we know that they are, again, with TU 9.1 and TU 10, I think specifically with the balancing changes, they're going to be looking to iterate on loot even more. But this is this comes as a bit of a surprise to me, to be honest, guys, and I want to go through these sheets here. Now there's two. We'll just go over this one. This is the main one, okay? And I apologise, this is just a lot of numbers here, but we'll go through exactly what it says here. So as you can see, description. This document is a collection of data gathered from heroic difficulty loot drops. Non-exotic drops that do not scale with difficulty were not included, i.e. olive-coloured crates. This first sheet is a summary of the data that I believe to be the most pertinent, but I have included more in-depth data sorted by item category, including every recorded drop in the subsequent sheets. The full names of category abbreviations are noted in the first sheet of each category, AR for weapons, mask for gear, and gear mods for, well, gear mods. Before we quickly go over that, it does say here, this is important, it says here, to my surprise, there are a total of 77 subcategories for skill mods. The quantity needed to be able to get reliable averages of each subcategory would be massive, which is why they're not included. But this is important to note here, guys, because I think what we need to understand is that heroic, aside from legendary, which is only available on free missions at the moment, heroic is the hardest content, and the majority of people are not doing heroic, right? I mean, I do challenging and I do heroic sometimes, but I mainly stay on challenging. I think that's where I'm most comfortable at the moment. So what we're going to see here is we've got gear cumulative roll quality. Okay, so that's if you take all of the rolls combined, so what, 1,800, this will give you the rough percentage of them meeting max. So 100% would be the max roll, and this gives you a rough idea on the kind of cumulative roll quality. So as you can see here, for so total is 70.7%. Now as you can see, mask, backpack, body armor, gloves, holster, and knee pad. So the holster actually have the lowest cumulative roll quality. It's 69.6%. And what you're going to notice about this, guys, is that most of these numbers stay around the, about the 70%ish mark, which is a little bit discouraging to think that on heroic difficulty being one of the hardest bits of content in the game, the average roll you're going to get basically is only 70% of what you could get. And we'll go into more data here at the bottom on exact stuff. I won't go through all of this, guys, because we'll be here all day, but I will leave a link to this down below. So we've got core attributes 71, minor attributes 70%, armor, skill tier, and weapon damage. So as you can see, weapon damage is actually the least one there at only 70.2%. And then we've obviously got the minor attribute rolls. Weapon handling looks to be the lowest, isn't it? Yeah, 69%. The highest here is critical hit chance and status effects. And that's funny because in game I would say that I do feel like more often than not these two particular attributes, crit hit chance and status effects, seem to roll higher than most other attributes in the minor attribute pool. The mask for the backpack actually for crit chance being the highest. Oh no, actually it will be the knee pads here. And if you go on the minor attribute frequency, so armor, skill tier, and weapon damage, as you can see here, weapon damage is the highest. And then the frequency wise, the highest, the most frequent that you're getting from minor attributes are weapon handling and headshot damage at 9.5%. And this is cumulative, okay, so this is if you have everything. And the lowest is actually, the lowest is, what have we got here? 7.1 skill damage is the lowest there. Although explosive resistance on a mask is very, very low. If you look at all these figures here, I think that's probably the lowest one that you're going to get. It's explosive resistance on a mask at 5.1%. And then we got the gear symmetry, armor, skill tier, weapon damage. And then you can see that weapon damage is again the highest there, and it appears to be the highest on the mask, that is. And then we got the weapons as well. And again, I'll probably go over these in more detail actually. So if we go on to, we'll quickly go over these here. So cumulative roll, 68, 68, 69 for those. You can see damage to armor is by far the highest minor attribute roll quality at 81.7%. Nothing even comes close to that. I mean, headshot damage is the next one, but aside from that, everything else is 65 to 70% of the time. And in the minor attribute frequency, the highest is critical hit damage. So followed by damage to armor, then swap speed. If we have a look at critical hit damage here, which is 10.2%, and its actual quality is only 68.5%, which is kind of in the middle of everything, but considering it's by quite a bit higher than everyone else in respect to the actual frequency, the amount of times that you're going to get a good roll on crit chance is not particularly great. Also wanted to go over this here. So this is kind of like, as you can see, like more of like a different way of looking at the information. And some of you might take this in better looking at it like this. I generally look at this stuff and see it better. So we've got total, core, and minor attributes. As you can see here, overall 68.7%. The highest being the rifle at 71%. A weapon minor attribute roll quality, the highest is damage to armor, followed by headshot damage, followed by rate of fire. And the minor attribute roll quality, the highest is crit chance, and the highest combined is status effects, followed by hazard protection and repair skills. What's the lowest on here? It's going to be weapon handling actually, and that kind of makes sense. I find whenever I get weapon handling, it's not particularly rolling well. So let's just quickly have a look at some of the weapons here. Now this is important to note, guys. So as you can see here, it says total entries for assault rifles 131 out of 1,800. So you're looking at about what, 8%, 7-8%. Of those 131, we had 2 names and 1 god roll. Now it's worth noting that god roll is defined as a non-exotic loot drop where at least one attribute rolled their maximum possible value, or an exotic lot droop where all attributes rolled their maximum possible value. So we're going to see that here. So if we go over here, you'll get to see the percentages. So as you can see on this particular one, damage to armor was at 6%, which is 100% of that particular weapon. It had a 82.1% headshot damage and 76.9% for the assault rifle damage. And as you can see, it had 3 attributes and only one of them was max. God rolls, we only had 1. And God rolls isn't even God rolls in the sense that all 3 attributes are maxed, by the way, guys. And I'll show you what I mean here. So this is the God roll where it's got 2 attributes, okay? So we had in assault rifle damage, 100%, headshot damage, 100%, and then we had optimal range at 36.1%. I don't know how, on a heroic difficulty, they could have a low or minimum roll range, and I don't even know if that's the minimum roll range, of 36.1%. That just seems ridiculously low. But that's what you would consider a god roll, and that, in my opinion, that's not even what I would consider a god roll. A god roll to me is all 3 of those rolling maximum, and there are none of these. In assault rifles, there is not one that rolled that 131 entries here. So yeah, I mean, at least on this data for a named item, you're looking at 1 in 60 approximately, and for a god roll, and that's only 2 maximum rolls, you're looking at 1 in 131. If we go to LMGs, 100 entries, we had 3 exotics, which are the pestilence, 2 named, so that's 1 in 50, and 5 god rolls, so that's 1 in 20 for total entries. And as you can see, natural god rolls, 0. So still none that rolled all 3 stats there. But we had a couple that rolled at least 2 stats. So as you can see with this one here, which is, we got LMG damage, damage to targets out of cover at 80%, and then damage to armor at 100%. Obviously you could recalibrate to get this to 100%, but that's only if you've ever got it 100% before. Otherwise you just won't be able to. So, and we got 3 exotics out of that. So 3 in 100, 3% chance of getting exotics, 2% chance of getting a named item, and then a 5% chance of actually getting 2 rolls on a LMG, but 0% chance of getting natural god roll, which is crazy. And you're going to see a bit of a trend here, guys, when it comes to these natural god rolls. Total entries for MMRs 116, no exotics, 5 named. So that's what, 20, 23, 24%. 1 god roll, so less than 1% for a god roll, and then no natural god rolls, which is remember, this is heroic guys. That is crazy. And where's the one that rolled high here? This one here, MMR damage, headshot damage, and then 62.5% for critical hit damage. So yeah, move on to the pistol here. No natural god rolls again, 103 entries, 1 exotic, 2 named, 10 god rolls. So actually almost like a 10% chance to get at least a pistol with 2 maximum rolls, but still 0 natural god rolls. Move on to rifles. 2 named, 1 exotic, 3 god rolls, no natural god rolls. And I don't know why that is. Why is it that we cannot get, at least from at the moment, there are no natural god rolls on these weapons. 104 entries. Shotgun. 103 entries, 0 exotics, 1 named, 0 god rolls. Okay, so that's less than 0%, if you can believe that. And natural god rolls, 0. SMGs. Finally, we got 106. We got 2 exotics, 0 named, 1 god roll, and then 1 natural god roll. And let's find this natural god roll because here we go. So there we go. Create chance damage to armor. So I mean, you would probably say that actually having damage to an armor on an SMG is probably not as good as something like critical hit damage. So actually, even when you get these god rolls, okay, they're not, or even these ones that have 2 maximum, okay, you're not getting them on the gear that you want, or you're not getting the actual stats that you want. There's always that RNG involved in that part as well. So let's go to the masks, okay. So this is onto the gear now. 118 entries, 2 named, 5 god rolls, and as you probably guess, 0 natural god rolls, which again is just crazy here. So let's have a look at some of these god roll ones and see what we've got here. So we got one here which is 100%. That's what is it? Skill, I believe. And then we have critical hit damage and then health. So yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, critical hit damage and health, maybe, possibly. I don't know. The thing is, there's no natural god rolls. Backpack, 150 entries, 1 exotic, 3 named, 10 god rolls. Okay, natural god rolls, 0. It's crazy. I'm not saying that on heroic you should get natural god rolls every single time, but so far of all the entries, there's only 1 natural god roll. Okay, and bear that in mind. And also the actual god roll percentage is probably looking at around between 2 to 5%. Named items are even lower, maybe 1%, possibly. And exotics are obviously lower than that. Body armor, 4 god rolls, 2 exotics, 155 entries, no natural god rolls. Gloves, finally, 135, 2 exotics, 2 named, 9 god rolls, natural god rolls 1. So that's only the 2nd natural god roll of all of these so far. Holster, 1 named, 1 exotic, 161 entries, 13 god rolls. Okay, but we did have a much bigger sample here of 161. 0 natural god rolls. Knee pads, 138. 0 named, 0 exotic, 7 god rolls. Which is only what? That's not a lot, is it? It's 20. So yeah, so it's yeah, no, that's bad. That's still very low. Natural god roll, 0. Gear mods, and actually I haven't actually looked at this data yet, so maybe we can look at this now. Gear mods, it kind of gives you what so we had 190 entries on gear mods here, 0 god rolls. Considering gear mods seem to drop a lot of the time, 0 god rolls. The highest amount on headshot damage, 8.8%, crit damage 10.2%, crit chance 4.7. Actually, is that the highest? I don't think it is actually. Let's have a look down the list because I think there's more here. We got 5.6 here. I thought it was done in order, but it's not. 5.6 is the highest on crit chance. Okay. Crit damage, the highest was 11.2, it appears. And then we got enemy on armor on kill, 6,171 or 16,000, sorry. But as you can see, I mean, we got 0 god rolls, okay, and that's shocking. That's I mean, that's bad, isn't it? Like, I mean, what's the closest percentage we had to a god roll here? There's 91% there. And I think 93% here on this one. And my screen just went off there, which is 11.6% for skill haste. But aside from that, nothing. So there you go, guys. I mean, I wanted to bring this to you guys so that you guys could get all this data. And I'll leave it down below. But what I've learned from just reading this alone is that out of over 1,800 drops, okay, from heroic difficulty content, only 2 natural god rolls, okay? I mean, how many god rolls were there? We got 1, 6, 7, 17, 20, 21, 26, 36, 40, 49, 62, 69, and that's it. So 69. That's like 1%. What would be 1%? So 1,800, 10%. So 1% of 1,800 is 18. So what? You're looking at 5% for a what would be considered a god roll, i.e. two pieces of gear dropping at maximum, or the attributes dropping at maximum. But for actual natural god rolls where all 3 are dropping, it's only 2 out of 1,800. That means you've got a 1 in 900 chance of getting a natural god roll. I don't know about you guys, but if you're playing on heroic content and you're seeing yourself dropping, you know, stuff that just isn't rewarding, which I'm seeing on heroic and on challenging, by the way, then this is why. Because it's just not there. There's just the chances of you getting something is so low. It almost feels like this has gone back to how loot was prior to Gear 2.0, where the chances of getting, I think at one point the chances of getting what you wanted was like 0.0042% or something ridiculous. But this is the problem, guys. You know, we're just not getting the best stuff. And also what I'm seeing as well is some of these roll ranges are so low, it feels ridiculous. 35.3% on critical hit chance. I mean, surely, the minimum value for heroic content, the minimum value you should get should be way above that, surely. And I've seen this when I've been playing on heroic and challenging. When I've been doing control points, which is what I've been doing a lot recently, I've been seeing my loot drop very, very low. And again, this is a question the devs are talking about at the moment. If we go to this this post here, which is what they're talking about for the next title update, and I'm going to do a whole couple of videos on this, because they did this before and I did the videos on this. But we've got here as one of the things is loot quality. What content do you skip because it does not feel rewarding? Well, based on that data, everything. Because nothing is rewarding at the moment. That data proves that. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm going to move on. I think you guys get the point. You can check out all the data for yourself. I'll leave a link down below. But yeah, we're just not being rewarded for the content we're doing. Moving on, and this may be something you already know, but for a lot of people, this has only recently been confirmed by the devs on Twitter. So recently, LMGs were the targeted loot for the Wall Street mission. So many people, and I mean a lot of people, rushed over there because they believe the targeted loot would positively impact their chances of getting the Bullet King LMG exotic. This is not the case. Nikki Cuppins on Twitter said the following: "Not Bullet King specifically, no, because the Warlords of New York exotics are not part of targeted loot yet, which is a separate system. So you can currently only get it from the regular boss loot." And a further tweet from Nikki said, "The Division 2 PSA. The new Warlords of New York exotics do not drop from targeted loot after you've acquired them once. They only come from their unique sources. This was never true for the old exotics either. You need the blueprints for the crafted exotics, the rest has no requirements." What Nikki's tweet does say is not yet, which suggests that actually this is something due to come in the future. I'm going to predict TU10. I was going to talk more about crossplay in this video, but I've realised it's getting on for nearly 20 minutes. So instead, I'll cover this in a future video when I can dedicate a lot more time to the subject. Thanks for watching today's video, guys, and thanks for all of your support. Until the next one, Epic out.